I don't know what it is about this week in anime, but from Bleach, Chainsaw Man, Eminence's Shadow Man, just everything has been brutal and bloody, and I love it. If you do want to see my full live reaction to this week's episode, it is available on the Patreon, but let's kick into episode 4. What did we see? What do I think? And honestly, the show just keeps getting more entertaining. Like, this show is so good at making Cid a character that he screams beast mode. He is someone who is so badass, so hilarious, and is so dense to that this shit ain't playtime, that these characters aren't coming from their normal lives to maybe regroup and have a little play session before going back to the mundane. He truly thinks he is just aiming to be a background character in a world that's fairly normal without conspiracies. And the fact of the matter is, the way he uncovers secret cults, or his group comes in saying there's like 1,400 new members or something like that, like, the fact that this man has no goddamn idea will never not be, at the very least, entertaining. But honestly, up to this point, it's been pretty damn hilarious. The thing that was interesting while watching this episode is you have this scientist who actually kind of gave me Shiki vibes, if you ever seen that vampire show. Just the way he was, like, his character design just kind of fit that style of anime. But then he would go in and just, this poor girl, man, like, she went through the ringer and then some. She was getting blood taken non-stop, force-fed some porridge-looking food that then made it look like she was in a different type of anime, if you know what I'm saying. And just the fact that you have this character that is this, like, mutated creature of some sort. Like, at first I was like, oh, that's gonna be the way she gets out, but then I was like, oh shit, he's kind of losing his mind, so that's actually probably gonna be the way that she gets, like, a fatal wound or something, and then just to see it, like, it actually kind of reminded me of, in The Simpsons, there was a Halloween episode years back, one of the first ones, there was Evil Bart, and just the way his character design looked, like, that's kind of how it looked, but just, like, more mutated with a Hunchback of Notre Dame sort of design. But then to see it, like, get into beast mode, I thought what they were gonna do was that scientist who was doing all this crazy shit was like, he would go from being shocked and like, yeah, this is amazing, to that dumbfounded face, right? The face where he's like, oh shit, I messed up. Didn't even have time because his face got obliterated into nothing. And I don't know where that's gonna go, but that's pretty exciting. But I love how for Cid, right, there's so many moments where he just cracks me up in a way that it hits my funny bone perfectly. So he's getting interrogated on a chair, right? Honestly, I was like, damn, like, that looks pretty brutal. And then you see this reaction that you're like, damn, if you show anyone this screen grab, they're gonna think it's a comedy anime because, you know, someone getting stabbed Wolverine style in the legs usually doesn't look like this. And I love how he's just like looking at his two interrogators as, damn, these are the background characters that are out backgrounding me. I need to be like them. And then they just toss his ass on the road. I love how they literally throw his sword on top of him. Like, there's no, like, control there. Even if a gun's unloaded, you don't point it at someone because it's common sense. Like, I imagine the same concept goes for a sword, even if it's sheathed, but it was just funny to see. And then to see the girls come back, and I mean, this episode be horny, I'm not gonna lie. The girls are getting wet over murder and all of his plans, but then just the way they'll go about presenting certain frames where, like, characters will be in doggy style or they'll be seductively taking off clothes before going on their mission. Like, the show just clearly knows what it's almost parodying, but in return, it's actually creating an interesting world because for our main character, it's the least serious thing ever, right? For Cid, this is playtime. He's just having a fun time. For everyone else, this is dead serious. And I love how he's actually uncovering this, like, giant cult, this giant conspiracy, and literally he is oblivious that this shit ain't just playtime or random thugs, and I absolutely love it. The guy who very much, like, this Zenon dude who Prince character, right? He very much, last week I said, like, he's probably responsible. And then very quickly in the episode, they made me second guess myself because he's like, oh, I'm not actually suspicious of Cid. I was like, okay, well, if he's responsible, then there's no reason for him to get rid of him. And then they sucker punch me at the end with the, I hired the scientist, and I'm like, of course you did. Like, there's certain characters in this episode who, like, his interrogators in the alleyway before he, like, obliterates them, and just some of the stranger danger vibes that certain characters give off, they very much gave me the impression of, like, SAO, like, you know, the perverts, the rapists and stuff, like, in SAO, those types of character designs, those are who they look like, and the fact that they got obliterated was just the icing on the entertainment cake. That's what I like about this show, is that it very much is telling a story. It's not just like it's parroting isekai fantasies and all these other different genres of anime. it's doing that with Cid as a character who literally is going from thinking about his brutal beatdowns, killings, to grabbing gold with his mouth in order to do what he needs to do here. But I love the fact that it's actually telling a legit story and a conspiracy, but because of the perspective, it gives it such a fresh coat of paint. It's the same reason why I love Overlord and stuff. A lot of the early stuff in Overlord you could look at as being fairly typical, but because you reverse the perspective of someone who honestly doesn't really know what he's doing all that much, but everyone believes he does, that's how you get these stories that really kick off in entertaining ways. And the longer you watch, the bigger the world opens up, the more fleshed out certain characters are. And I'm just really excited because there's a lot of funny moments. There's obviously those character building moments. Our girl's sister, very much worried at first, was like, oh shit, is she gonna be the twisted one? Nope, very much looks like sister split apart, so interested to see where that's gonna go. But overall, it just feels like it knows what it's doing, and it's honestly crazy how bloody this anime season truly is, because it's not even just like characters are getting stabbed, like we're literally seeing limbs get ripped off, characters' face get obliterated. If you go frame by frame, that should be looking gruesome, and I'm really enjoying this one. Like, obviously I knew it would be at the very least fun ever since the first preview really got released and I read the synopsis, but I mean, anytime you see a fandom that is hyping up something as much as this one is, you gotta wonder, like, what's the big reason? What's the big thing that separates this one so hard that this is their most anticipated? And at this point, being 4 episodes in, I'd say the main reason for me is that it literally is both the most serious and comedic show mixed into one, where one side never overshadows the other. And I think it's kind of brilliant making your main character play pretend in the way that he is, believing that his little group, who is saying there's like thousands of members now, are just coming home from their day job or their day school, wherever they're going, and they just sometimes need that fantasy kick, as they're dead serious uncovering a giant conspiracy, with all these like different episodes feeling so different. Like in a lot of ways, this felt like a typical horror episode in a lot of ways, like a horror thriller episode with a lot of the imagery, the interrogations, and honestly the laboratory with the monster transformation. Like that's almost what it felt like. And each episode has seemingly felt like a different anime, but connected so well that it never feels disjointed, but just like there's so many different sides to this world. And for a man playing pretend, it kind of makes sense that we would see so many different styles of pretend, even though this world's dead serious and he doesn't realize it. And the voice acting is incredible in this show. Like, seriously, just if you look at Cid's voice actor, his pathetic, overly whiny background character voice is perfect. He nails that performance. But then sometimes he has that more neutral voice where you can tell his switch is off and he's not trying to pretend in any which direction. But then when he goes into his just alpha form, where he's just killing people, taking names, like, it's just the fact that one man can voice that well, it just elevates his character to another level, as there's sound effects in this episode from shoulders snapping, bones crackling, and I'm like, damn, listening with headphones, some disgusting ass sound effects that really sell the immersion of what they're going for. And I absolutely love this one. It's incredible, and I'm really interested to see where it goes from here. But of course, as always, I'll pass the torch over to everyone. What did you think? Whether if you're a fan of the source or if you're anime original like myself, leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. You can also consider supporting the Patreon if you do want to see the live reaction or get a video shout out like Didrik Svahn in this episode. So I do appreciate the support, and we'll see you next time. So take care, have a good one.